Obviously, as people evolve and get better, they want to be more challenged because otherwise it's not fun.
Right.
But if you're a newbie, you probably want the bots or NPCs to be pretty stupid.
Welcome to Line of Fire, the Sharkmob game dev podcast. Again, I'm Martin Hultberg, your host. As mentioned before, I have many hats: CMCO, narrative director and co-founder, but also collector of great people. Well, I just made that up, but there's one great person here today I want to talk to, and I want you to listen to. It's Marcus Demnert from Google Cloud. And I tried to find a good title for you, but you didn't make it easy for me because I copied your LinkedIn and it says Marcus Demnert from Google Cloud for Games. Welcome to our podcast studio, Marcus. What is your title? Do you have a title?
I do have a title.
Yeah.
I do have a formal title, and I do have a title that I use in occasions like this one, for instance. So my formal title is Senior Customer Engineer, which essentially is a sales engineer kind of role. I call myself Lead Cloud Architect, Games, Nordics. It's kind of what I do.
Well, that is quite descriptive. And we discussed this briefly before. I tried to check up on you on your background so I could do a proper intro. I concluded you were quite anonymous on the internet. I found an old blog from like 2012 or whatever. So I went straight to your LinkedIn and I saw you have a pretty established background as a software developer, software engineer. So I guess you've been working with this for quite some time.
Absolutely. And I don't try to be anonymous online. It's just something that's kind of happened organically. Yeah, I mean, I started out as a developer, software developer in the late 90s. Stayed there for a long time, become a consultant, became a consultant manager even, and then got tired of that and bored, I think, even. Mm-hmm. And I want to do some fun stuff. So I went back to coding for 2 years. And then Google called. And it's hard to not pick up the phone when Google calls. And here I am, 8 years later. I can imagine
that. For those who don't know or understand what your title you just went through means, could you sum up what you do at Google, like day to day? What is it you do? What do you work with?
I help game studios in the Nordics to be successful with the Google Cloud products and solutions. That's what I do day to day, technically. And that means that I advise on products. I support customers that have needs. Could be technical needs. They might have a challenge they need to solve. And I find people, if my knowledge is not enough, I have a lot of people around me that are really, really good that I can bring to meetings to support the customers. But essentially my goal is to make sure that the customers I work with are happy with our products.
That's a nice job to have, to make people happy.
It is. And I mean, it's fun to be successful in such a role, coming back to having people happy. And not everyone is happy all the time, obviously, but for most of it, I think people are pretty happy.
Well, we've been happy for quite some time. We worked on you already on Bloodhunt, and We've been happy since then. And I find it quite interesting to have you here because unlike the last guest I interviewed, which was on topics near to what I do every day, which is like narrative stuff, I have very little insight into online services, AI, that type of stuff, where you obviously know way more. So this time I can actually ask questions I don't have answers to. Amazing. And have you explain it to me. And also with us today to make sure everything works is our producer, Rochelle. I want to ask you to kick us off with the traditional this and that question line so we can kind of warm up and get going.
Okay. Should I be worried?
No, and not more than usual.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, let's go then. My first question is, structure or chaos?
Absolutely structure, no doubt. I can't manage chaos. I get nervous. I like structure. I find structure in everything.
Yeah, I want to be contrarian and say chaos. At the same time, I know how much I require structure around me. What I do enjoy, though, is creating structure in chaos. I like taking chaos and turning it into something that is structured. And I guess that then I'm flirting with both in a way. I require both to work.
Okay, this is a fun one. San Francisco or Malmo?
Malmö. Every day. San Francisco is amazing, but Malmö is exceptional.
That's the answer I was hoping for. That's why I put it there. But I'm going to go for Malmö as well. I enjoy going to San Francisco. It's a very nice place to visit. And I don't even live in Malmö, by the way. I just visit here every day as well. So I live in the countryside. But Malmö is near and dear to my heart. But I want to thank you and Johnny, if you're listening later to this, for the tour you gave us of the San Francisco office. I think there was some very cool stuff in there that was interesting to see. So
it is.
It was nice to visit Google in San Francisco and check out the office.
I can also add, I think Malmö is my second town these days, since I've been spending so much time here since I joined Google.
Yep.
I find my way around here better than I knew Stockholm, for instance. So
that's because Malmö is smaller.
Malmö is definitely smaller, but there are some really good restaurants here, and I really like it here.
Okay, well, since you both chose Sweden and you mentioned food, Swedish candy or Swedish meatballs?
Swedish candy, absolutely. I can eat too much every Saturday and all the rest of the days as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that one. Candy.
Okay, that was easy. I'm going to throw one more at you, and I'll save some for later if you guys are in the mood. AI that surprises you or AI that obeys perfectly?
I'm going to go first, and I'm going to let you dwell on that for a bit. I think I want AI that obeys me. I don't like my tech to surprise me, and then I don't really care what they're surprising me with. So yeah, I want my AI to obey me. I prefer that.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think AI should do what we tell it to do. And I think I can be surprised by the outcome, but I still think it should obey me.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So cloud services, they're kind of behind scores of games now, without most players probably realizing what's happening behind the scenes.
Yep.
At least when it works, we're not supposed to know it's there, right? So what do you wish more players or devs understood about the whole cloud thing? Is there anything that would be helpful for people to get that they don't get?
I kind of like the thinking of them as invisible, because they're supposed to be invisible. They kind of support the game. It's the game that should shine. In the end, I think you don't really know. As a player, you don't really know if the cloud service is down or if the game is actually broken. But I think in general, they should be supporting services to the game. If there's something you should know, not really. I don't think so. As a developer, it's a completely different thing, right? Because as a developer, you should know that there are probably better tools than you used to if you're using other, old stuff. A lot of things has happened in the last 10 years. So you can rely on services better. They are healing themselves better, so they're more, suited for the kind of live services than they were a couple of years ago. So they scale better and stuff like that. And those things devs knows these days, right? In the end, it's a matter of choice.
So for those who are totally unaware, could you give us some example of what these services are? I mean, what does the cloud add to a game, for example? Why do you use cloud services for a game? What is it that it does?
The easiest thing is scale and availability. In the end, the promise of the cloud from the very beginning is, unlimited capacity and pay as you go. That was kind of the promise of the cloud from the very beginning. And when it comes to games, we all know if you have been part of a game launch, typically they have a peak during the first weekend. And obviously, if you acquire hardware to your own basement or data center, it's going to cost you a lot of money because you have to provision for that peak. But then the week after, the peak is going to be half as high. Even though if you have a successful game, it's probably going to be that case, right? And cloud brings scale, meaning that you can use cloud for the first weekend and then use less because you only pay for what you use. When it comes to services that cloud support, it's typically things that you do, right? Logging in, storing your profile, your inventory, those kind of things is typically where you save things. But you could do that on outside of cloud as well, obviously. But the scale of things is where cloud really shines. And obviously, you don't have to pay a lot of money up front for supporting your peak. Because, in some cases, when you launch a game, you don't really know, right? You don't really know how successful it's going to be. You might have an idea, but you don't know. So instead of making guesses, you can just go with it.
So I guess in a simple way, you could talk about like hosting of servers and scaling up with the number of servers and stuff like that as part of what you can do with the cloud. But have you ever encountered any like unexpected or creative ways that devs have used your services? They were like, this was interesting. We didn't really see this coming. Or maybe asked you to add something you guys didn't have. And it's like, wow, yeah, we could actually do that.
It's an interesting question. I would say no. Because to a large extent, what has happened is that services has moved from, basements or data centers to cloud. It's in general, it's the same kind of things, maybe evolved, maybe more automatic and those kind of things. You have a lot of innovation, obviously, but it's simple services to a large extent. They might be advanced, obviously, under the hood, but from the end user perspective, they should be pretty simple. And not a lot of things, to be honest, has happened when it comes to the more traditional kind of compute, storage, databases stuff. We have some databases that are better, faster, but in the end, you use them the same way as you did even 20 years ago. So I would say no, which is a little bit boring, I would say.
Or maybe predictable, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we were at GDC earlier this year, I attended a presentation where you were as well, and a couple of your colleagues, and we talked about the potential use of AI in games. It was a very interesting presentation, and now you don't have the deck with you nor your coworkers, but could you maybe spell out the gist of that for the audience? Like what are we looking at in the near future in terms of AIs in video games that is different from today that you guys are working on?
I think if you look at it from the very beginning, you had boxed games. They cost $60. You shipped the game and you were done with it. You created your golden master, and that was kind of the end goal of the game release. What then happened was what we call live games, right? You had some kind of feedback loop. So things that happened in the game might be come back to in-game telemetry and stored in a database, so you can see, how many people actually failed killing that boss in the end, or how many people, left the game on certain levels, right? So you got a kind of feedback loop from the game back to the developers. You could make deliberate changes to the game to make the game better. And that's what we call live games. And now we're kind of taking the next step with that, which we call living games. We had to coin something, right? So we made up living games. And I think it's pretty good, actually. The idea is that the game itself can adapt to what you do in the game, what happens in the game. And basically, the developers just set up the opportunity, and then it's up to the player and the AI, or whatever you call it, to explore what happens next. And that's kind of where we are right now. And now we're starting to see example of the first feedback loop. It's kind of where we have started with all this AI, generative AI, let's just call it. Typically, you what started was, you can get help coding, code completion. You can get tests written for you and stuff like that. And then you can have, your pull request, which means basically when you submit your new code to the game, you can have an AI look through that and those things. You even have maybe on the creativity side, you can have assets being created using generative AI and stuff. But that's part of the kind of feedback loop. It's part of creating the game, and you can have maybe some AI helping you get the telemetry back, something that helps you find anomalies and stuff like that. When it comes to in-game, it's more interesting because if you have even a mildly successful game, the cost of doing inference, as we call it, the action of actually questioning the AI for things, can be quite expensive. So we haven't seen a lot of implementations of it yet. But we got one last week when Fortnite added a voice to Darth Vader in game, which was absolutely amazing to see. So if you killed Vader in Fortnite, he joined your squad, and then you can have a conversation live with Darth Vader. And James Earl Jones even gave the permission for Future to use his voice for
cool.
things. So it's actually James Earl Jones speaking to you in the game of Fortnite when you're playing and fighting for the top spot on the leaderboard.
Would you consider that to be one of your more creative examples of stuff that studios have come up with in this field recently, at least?
Absolutely, because people have a lot of ideas, right?
Yeah.
We have seen very, very few being implemented in the games, and especially big games because of what I spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can discuss, and people have implemented a lot of things. In the end, this is by far the most high-profile implementation I've seen. If you go, fast forward 2 years or even a year, maybe we would probably laugh at this because a lot of things have probably happened in the next year, will happen in the next year, but right now this is kind of peak where we are.
Yeah, but I mean I guess the floodgates are opening, right? And as soon as someone starts moving, other things will happen as well. So like you said, that development will probably go quite quickly.
Absolutely.
What kind of games do you play yourself when you get to play for fun and not just for work?
I play a Factor game called Factorio. I got introduced to it from a colleague in the industry, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. It wasn't even released. They had a long alpha cycle before they put out the game, and I got hooked. And I try to play games, especially customers put out games, I tried to play them. Played a lot of Blood Hunt when it came out.
Yeah.
In the end, I always come back to Factorio because I know that game so well, and it's super hard to stop playing. And now I'm more into speedrunning the game and trying to beat the game as fast as possible.
Right.
And I kind of enjoy casual games on the phone as well, but those are kind of easy to replace. So my go-tos right now are when I do flying, I do play Sudoku. And then when I, playing at home casually, it's typically Factorio.
So you're one of those majority players that play games that are 6 years older or more.
Yeah, but absolutely. But the thing, Factorio wasn't released in the first version.
Right, true.
So
quite true.
But yes.
So knowing what you know about AI and everything that it can do and what happens in development, and then also having some insight into games, is there anything you wish games would be doing with AI that you don't know for sure anyone is doing right now? Like anything where you've always gone like, they should be doing that, or I wish Factorial had this, or whatever?
That's a really tricky question.
I know.
One of the things that AI brings and requires is those with really good ideas. If I really had good ideas on this, I wouldn't be doing what I do, right? I would be pitching something else.
Well, you never know. We gamers, we always have good ideas about everyone else's games, right? It's
yeah.
Part of the...
the thing is, you look at games, and games is a good example of this. You look at things that had been revolutionary to games. There's always really creative people involved in games. And I'm pretty sure that these people will come up with really good ideas on how to implement AI in the games as well. Whether it being, supporting acts or clever NPCs or helping you create games faster or better or cheaper or whatever it might be, right? It's going to be a lot of things, and a lot of creative people will put their heads into this and they will come up with ideas. I think the limit right now is people trying to still understand what this actually is and what you can do with it. And as soon as people start wrapping their heads around some aspects of what you can do with this, you're going to start seeing that explode in games. So we saw as I mentioned, the Darth Vader in Fortnite. This is the first big one we've seen. I'm pretty sure we will see plenty more in the coming weeks or month.
What do you think is like the biggest how should I put it, like the biggest constraint or limitation on AI right now for its use? Is it like hardware? Is it the actual humans using it, like the creativity behind it, or is it the tech itself that is limiting things? Because I guess development is moving fast, so there's no point in speculating on what it's like a few years from now because it's so quick. But right now, where is the limitation now? Is it the tech?
No, I think right now the cost of doing inference at scale can be big, right? It might be costly. So you have to be clever when you implement this.
Right.
You can start implementing AI for, things that you can get micropayments for instance, or things that keeping the players in the game, because that's kind of how you probably spend those money better than just implementing it for fun, right? Because if you do it for fun and at scale, it's going to be crazy expensive. And I think right now, there's a balance of those two, right? You have to put it out where it actually makes the most sense.
There's always a business case.
I mean, if you could add an NPC that suddenly goes into the game when you kind of start realizing that your player is about to churn and leave the game, and help them get through the next level or whatever it might be.
Right.
Obviously, that player will stay in the game longer, and you will continue to have the benefit from that player. And same thing, I mean, if you want the player to create new set of clothes or new, camouflage or whatever, and you can use generative AI to create that one, and then you can get a transaction from it, then it makes sense. But just adding AI into the game right now, I think people are a little bit hesitant because of primarily cost reasons and creativity reasons.
Are there any games on the market today that are using anything similar to this that you're aware of? Maybe simpler versions of getting you that help if and when you need it? Because I mean, I've done a lot of work with tutorials and onboarding and stuff like that, and I can clearly see the benefit of it. But I can't really come up with any examples right now where a released game is really utilizing something like that.
I think that's one of the things as well, coming back to the Fortnite and Epic. I mean, it's one of the first games that actually came out with this. There are games that add a lot of generative AI to it, but none of them are famous to this extent right now, at least. And no one has really gotten through, and people are talking about games that have a lot of generative AI in it yet. So we're still early, right? This technology has existed to us in the public for only 2 years.
Yeah.
It's the worst it's ever going to be, as someone said, right?
Yeah.
It's only going to get better and better and better, which is interesting because it's pretty good right now.
Yeah, and I think that from a strictly technological point of view, for many years, it's kind of felt for a lot of people, I think, like we live at peak civilization, right? It's like we have everything we need, everything is fine. But then something like AI comes along, and we can't really predict, or at least I can't today, all the changes that's going to mean in the future. So I think just for gaming, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that neither you nor I really can, predict here today. That's kind of the cool thing with it, at least to me.
I mean, I think the scope and it's even bigger than this, right? Because it's going to affect us all in some way. Sure. It's already starting to. And when it comes to game, I'm pretty sure we will see amazing games with a lot of creativity in it, and that will help people, that will challenge people, that will amuse people. The thing is also that games take some time to develop, right? You really don't develop a game in a couple of months. You might for mobile games or something, but if you look at the types of games that you do at Sharkmob, these games doesn't take a couple of months to build. It takes years.
Yeah.
Which means that if you have an idea on how to add this capability to your game, you either have to change an existing game and to add functionality to it, or kind of architect to it from the very beginning. Which means that if you started a year ago, obviously the technology has evolved immensely in this year, but if you started a year ago, your game might not just come out until another 2 years. So probably, or most likely, the games we will see that are kind of built with AI at the center of it probably won't be out in another year or two. I guess.
Right. So I guess there's kind of like AI as a building tool, and then there's AI as a game feature.
Yeah.
And I remember this is many years ago, but like at another company, at a previous game we were working on, I remember having a discussion with some mutual friends. I won't name them, but the programmers that you know and I know, and they were working on the NPC behaviors, basically the AI for the NPC at the time. And we had discussions where their conclusion was we can make our NPCs really good, but we don't think that's what players want because they're going to be too good.
Yep.
So just to give an example, like a lot of times when we meet NPCs, and I won't use the word AI here for NPCs because that will be confusing. So I'll just say NPCs that are controlled by AI, but never mind.
Sure.
When we meet NPCs, as players, we want to be able to predict their behaviors because we want to be able to outmatch them. We want to feel smart, and we want to know that if I shoot near that NPC, he will flank to the nearest cover, and then he's going to throw a grenade from there, which means he is in a suppressed state, and I can move if I avoid the grenade, and then I can take him out and I can kill him. And then the second they become smarter than us and start basically outwitting us, a lot of players can see that as a turnoff. So to me, it's like this is where it becomes interesting with AI in the future, because it's more like fighting other humans than fighting an NPC. Like people right now obviously refer to bots in many games. You have player bots kind of, and they are more like fighting real players because you can't as accurately predict exactly what they're going to do. So do you think there's room for games in the future with dumb NPCs, or are we all going to expect these smart, almost simulation-like behaviors?
One of the biggest aspects of games is the concept of fun. If the game is not fun, no one will play the game.
Right.
There are AIs, NPCs, whatever you call it, that are absolutely amazing. Just look at what Google did with AlphaGo a couple of years ago, beating the top player in Go,
right?
Lisa Doll in a few matches, and so I think it's gonna be most of the NPCs that's probably gonna be pretty stupid.
Yeah,
because otherwise you take away the fun.
Yeah, but I like obviously you can go on and on about this because I'm just speculating and I'm not a tech guy, so I don't know. But to me, it sounds like we want really smart NPCs that knows when to play dumb.
Yep,
because
that's one way to put it.
Yeah, because like some players want that expected behavior, and that's what's fun for them. But a proper AI, a smart AI, would be able to detect based on how I play what I expect to get out of that NPC.
Yep.
In a way, right? So it can. Simplest way of putting it is, I guess, scalable difficulty. They can. This is actually a really good player. I can be a bit smarter.
Yep.
I can do this. And so as a developer, we would, I guess, try to say to the game that this should be a for the player easy opponent, and then the AI would detect how good the player is and it would scale accordingly, right?
Yeah. I mean today, you even have that today when it comes to generative AI, because you prompt the model. You have a prompt that you send data. You can send a lot of data. It could be skill levels, it could be a lot of things, right? That adapts the result that you get back from the AI.
Right.
And obviously that's gonna become even better and better. And you will probably see really good or tailored NPCs built on generative AI that you tell them what to do and what skill levels you should have, and it's kind of the next thing we will see probably in games in a couple of months or years even.
Yeah.
Because obviously it comes back to how you want your game to be, right?
Yeah.
And what kind of things you do in the game. You might want to have a co-player that's super awesome.
Right.
That kind of is slightly better than you all the time because that makes you through the game. But not everyone want that, and not every game needs that.
It's true. So this might be a uncomfortable question for you. Let's see how you react to it. But I feel I want to ask it because I do believe you are well equipped to answer it, and you have better insight than me anyway. But what are you concerned about when it comes to development of AI, just generally speaking? Because I do know it's a tool of opportunity, but also, as all tools, you have to look out for, how it develops.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, is there anything you do worry about, or is it just taking it step by step and reacting to the changes that occur?
I mean, me personally, not necessarily as a Googler, we always come back to Skynet, right? It's kind of where our preference of the most intelligent AI we have. Right now we're kind of far away from it, I assume. But obviously things like, making sure the data stays yours when you use it, to make sure that it doesn't violate any privacy and those kind of things. And that's obviously a balance. I'm pretty sure that the companies that are working on these models take these things very, very seriously. We have legislations across the world. So I'm not. I mean, it's a technology change, and we're not really understanding what's going on. So we're a little bit worried in general.
Right.
I'm not super worried about the future in that sense, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be in the hands of capable companies. And there's gonna be legislations. In the end, we never know what happens, right? But personally, I'm not worried.
Could this be one of the first really advanced, complex tools that actually is easier to use? Because if you look at technology, the more complex a device is, the harder it is to use, the more difficult it is to master. That's always been true with tech. Just look at our parents and how they try to master the smartphones or even the laptops when they came, right? We always had to run in there age 15, 16, 17, whatever, and set up the phones and set up
support.
the modems. Yeah, exactly. So, but I guess it's in the nature of AI to make it easy.
Yep.
So is this maybe the first time we have something that is truly advanced, but also very easy to use for most, at least, I guess?
I think it's a really good take on things. Because, I mean, when you ask, I'm going to say Gemini here, your text question, you can say, please respond like I'm a 5-year-old.
Right.
So that kind of already exists. I mean, in the end, if you're a power user, you want the power answer, right? You don't want the answer for a 5-year-old. But if you're a newbie, you want to start somewhere. So I absolutely agree with you. I think that's a really good take on things. It's going to definitely adapt to who you are and what you need.
Yeah.
And that's going to be different for, I mean, if you ask the same question, I mean, the answer won't resonate with you the same way as it resonates with me, regardless of which question we ask, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely think the adapting to who you are and kind of what you already know and what you're actually looking for is definitely part of what it is already, and completely agree with you.
Yeah. So looking at current tech, not speculating about the future, how do you know the stuff you get from your AI friend helper is correct? Because I've used a lot of AI myself, and it tends to be somewhat hit and miss in certain areas and whatever. And I've already learned that you double check it if it's important. You don't kind of rely on the fact that it is a fact. You kind of check it. But as a user of AI and as a developer, what's your tip to people when they use the AI tools we have right now? How do you validate that what you get is correct?
I mean, what you're referring to is usually called hallucinations. It makes things up. And AI, when it came out, and generative AI came out, it was really good at creative stuff. Because it did, coming back to the chaos or structured question we had before, it likes structured, it liked chaos. And ordering structure and understanding structure was harder because there's no creativity in structure in that sense. What we see these days, I mean, Google came out with something called grounding. And grounding basically means that it goes out on the internet and try and find the sources that it used and basically marks the answer in the response with, something, this is accurate, we have the sources here, and links it to it. And then it marks things with, another color saying that this might be something that we made up. But obviously, models evolve. So now we have thinking models. Models essentially fact-checking their own answers. So it resonates with itself in order to get you the answer. And by actually questioning, is this really true? And then it does another round of things to figure out whether it was true or not. Can I find sources or what backs this data up? So it kind of, it's part of the evolution of the models as well. they get better and better to understand when they're actually making things up. So the further we go, the better there's going to be. I mean, you can still, if you're working with models, it's called temperature usually. You can change the temperature from I can't remember whether it's plus or minus, but essentially you can allow it to be more creative,
right?
Or you can move the temperature to the other side of the spectrum, basically saying don't be creative at all.
Yeah.
So there are those mechanics already in the models today, and then obviously the models become better and better to understand what's true and what's not.
Right. Is there anything you feel people, I think what you just said is one of those people should be aware of, like when they sit and play with different AIs now, it's people should generally be aware of the fact that not all answers are factually correct that they could get, right? That's a generally good thing to be aware of. Is there anything similar to that people should be aware of when they use AI today, generating pictures or text or whatever it is? Is there anything else that's useful to know?
No. I think that's the key part, right? And you should be aware of the privacy aspect of things, right? You should make sure that the tools you're using are good for you, that it doesn't share things online or being part of the model that trains the model in future generations. Be aware of it. I mean, if you're not doing critical stuff, you're pretty fine, I guess. But you might not want to upload your, secret architecture to a public model and kind of trust it stays there, because it might not. Right. I haven't read all the terms of services for the other services, so I can't really, answer for them. But
sure,
those things I think you should be, a little bit aware of. But I mean, most questions, if you're wondering, if the grass grows faster in the evening or in the morning, probably you get a good answer. It's probably not critical, right? But there's those things, right? Be aware that the answer might not be factually correct.
Yeah.
Make sure it is. You can double check it, and make sure that use tools that you kind of know are safe to use, especially if you do it in the corporate aspect of things.
I mean, that's a general old school internet tip that has nothing to do with AI, but don't upload anything you don't want to share, because that's basically as soon as you put it up there, it's out there. So
yes.
That's a good tip to always keep in mind when you do online stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
What is your dream partner to work with when it comes to gaming companies? Like, where do you derive the most pleasure and fun? Is it when they are pushing challenges your way? Is it when they are pushing the envelope in terms of the services you guys offer?
It's fun when things happen, but it's not fun when bad things happen. I mean, for me, Sharkmob is an amazing partner because we do a lot of fun stuff together, right? We scratch each other's back, and I get to be on a podcast with you guys, and you get to be on our summits and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And I like that, and I like to help. I like to be proactive. It's more fun to be proactive and talk about technology before things actually go wrong,
right?
Because it's easy for things to go wrong unless you think of things early. I mean, I get absolute pleasure of a successful game launch. Game launches should be boring, because if they are boring, they work. And games launches should not be problematic.
Right.
And we've seen game launches becoming better and better over the years. And I kind of like when things are boring in that sense. But we like to be involved.
I suspect, and I got to say, and you will obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but game launches becoming more successful clearly has something to do with service providers like yourself who go through a lot of launches.
Yep.
Because you learn things, and you can transfer that practical knowledge without transferring any type of IP or protected stuff. You can be like, this is the technically best way to do the launch.
Yep.
And I think that's extremely helpful in itself.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back a few years, the most problematic part of a launch was usually the database. Okay. When things went wrong, it was usually the database that fell over because you didn't load test it enough.
Right.
And we spoke about the technology evolving earlier, and obviously a lot of things has evolved when it comes to databases as well. And today there's also a lot of experience in the industry because more people are seasoned. They have been around for a few times, so you tend to avoid making the same mistake twice. Because there's two ways to learn how you develop games, right? One is to try everything yourself. It's going to be a lot of hoops and holes you're going to fall into, but you're probably going to learn a lot. Or you joined a seasoned studio and learn their ways of working, and because they have made or have people that have made mistakes in the past, right, that generally try to avoid them. And when it comes to the example of databases, most people know that the database is typically a sensitive component of your game launch. So people pay a lot more attention to it. And there are, better databases. Databases have evolved a lot in the last 10 years. So now there are other things, but you cannot foresee other things. I mean, you implement a third-party API. You do a call somewhere else. It's not your code. It's not your service. It's not anything, right? But in the end, you rely on that service. And if that goes down, it's super hard for your game to exist or work, right? So there are still some challenges around when you develop games and launch games. Not everyone that is in your own control.
Right, that's true. Turning my gaze towards producer Rochelle, do you have a couple of questions we could fire off?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you guys were talking about AI. Here's one. AI wins Game of the Year or AI builds Game of the Year?
You want to go first, Martin?
Yeah, I don't want AI to build games. I want the AI help me build games. So using AI tools to build Game of the Year, yeah, I'll go for that.
I mean, it's interesting. As a player, do I mind?
It probably not.
Probably not. If the game is fun. Yeah, but you do because you do it for a living. And I probably do this as well because I kind of do this for my living as well.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you.
Okay. Instinct or analysis?
I mean, I say I make all my decisions based on gut feeling. But that's based on analytics, right? It's based on my experience. So, I don't know. I would say I'm data-driven. I should say that. I probably are data-driven.
You probably should say you're data-driven. Yeah. And, I do a lot of gut feeling to guide me through my life. But when it comes to development and making products, I am also data-driven. But sometimes your gut tells you where to find that data or how to treat that data. So that's the thing with data. You can read it in one way or that way or another way, and your gut will kind of tell you when you're on the right track or not. So I'm going to be that boring one and say you can't really do one, but not the other.
But gut is experience, right?
It is true.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Okay, Factorio or Exoborn?
Exoborn.
Exoborn.
Yeah, it's going to be my next favorite game.
See, my bribe worked.
Yeah, exactly. Now I really look forward to the game. It's kind of the games I like to watch at least.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure I will love play the game as well.
Well, we hope so. I was, thank you, Rochelle. I was thinking we'll round off. I just want to check with you before we let you go. Is there anything you want to comment on that you haven't already said? Any message you want to send to the world out there in general, players or developers or grandmothers listening to this because their grandchildren work at Sharkmob, whatever?
Yeah, I think this is what I tell my family. I tell my kids, don't stay away from generative AI. Doesn't really matter. I would prefer you using Gemini, but don't stay away from the tool. Try whatever tool you can get your hands on and try figure things out. Try play with it. Figure out, there are amazing tools like Deep Research and Notebook LM from us. That's part of Gemini. And try them out and make sure to find what they can do, because they are never gonna get any worse than they are today. And they are gonna change life for us in some way.
And they make it easy by their very nature.
If you want to make it easy.
Exactly. It's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Thank you for coming in. This concludes this episode, and I'll see you all next time.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Bye.